A verdict of obedience on a disobedient Muslim wife. This is a love story that was written in English and translated into Arabic by Dr. A. Ahmed. Copyright. All rights are reserved. All characters in this book are fictitious, and any resemblance to real people, living or dead, is purely coincidental. No part of this book may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means without the prior written permission of the author except by a reviewer who may quote brief paragraphs in a review to be printed in a newspaper, general magazine, school journal, or university article. This is a love story about 3 Muslim girls who are subjected to gross injustice, severe violence, and abhorrent persecution by Muslim men, religious leaders, Sharia court judges, and police officers in the Islamic community and the religion of Islam and its hostile, hateful, and abusive teachings against women's rights, which are innumerable. For example, beating of women, child marriage, circumcision of the private parts of Muslim girls, which is known as female genital mutilation or FGM, slaying them in honor killings, inequality between males and females in inheritance, testimony in court, marriage, divorce, men's guardianship over women, controlling their lives and destinies as if they are minors, physically handicapped or mentally retarded, and forcing them to wear the veil, hijab, niqab, or the humiliating burqa as if they are frightening ghosts. Many Islamic countries prevent women from going to school and work, and they are forbidden to practice any kind of sport, and they are not allowed to go to gymnastics, beaches or swimming pools, cinemas or theaters. And none of them is allowed to leave the house without her husband or with the mahram man. The woman is forbidden to marry, such as her father or brother. They are also not allowed to fall in love with men before marriage or choose their future husbands or life partners. The story is about 3 innocent girls, Intisar, Firdaus, and Mona. Part 1. The suffering of the 2 innocent girls, Firdaus and Mona. Chapter 1. Talk from heart to heart. The city of Gadaref in eastern region of Sudan is famous for its power outages. In order to solve such a frequently occurring problem, some people resort to using diesel generators. But the affordability of buying a diesel generator requires that people have a good monthly income. Those people who are not well off financially used domestic lamps whenever the electricity went out. But the local lamp, which was known as a lantern or fanoos, could not produce enough light to light the whole house. People burdened with such a limited income benefit greatly from moonlighting. Apart from this fact, inside the city of Gadaref there are many admirers of the moon. For example, old women love the moon because it often attracts their children to them. When the moonlight is bright enough, the children will gather around their grandmothers to listen to their old legends, fables, and stories. Some of the stories, such as Fatima al-Sama, a Juba who ruined the kingdom of Soba, and the mother of 7 evils, are remarkably interesting for children. Children never get tired of hearing the beautiful story of Fatima al-Sama over and over again, even if the story has been told 100 times or more. In fact, some of them will always ask their grandmothers to tell them the story of the beautiful Fatima. The secret behind this great demand for the retelling of the story every night is not Fatima's beauty nor the interesting story, but the many versions in which the same story is told. Every grandmother will make it her duty, and whenever the story of Fatima al-Sama is asked, she will add some new events to it. Some of the grandmothers will tell the story as a TV series that will run for a month in the holy month of Ramadan. Also, among the admirers of the moon in that city, we can include young people. But in this category, there is good and bad. The bad group consists of those teenage boys who love the moon because it gives them the chance to gather in football fields at night, sip on local liquor, and sing vulgar songs. A good group to focus on in this chapter are lovers. The moon, as it has been known since time immemorial, inspires lovers to write beautiful poems describing their beloved ones. Be with them. So, the moon for such lovers stands as a natural representative on behalf of the absent lovers. However, in a strict society like Gadaref where love is strongly condemned as evil, the desire to have a lover instead of the moon will not be fulfilled. In this part of the world, it is common to see lovers passing each other on the streets without speaking to one another or greeting their beloved ones. Although love is fraught with danger, boys and girls keep falling into its trap. This may be because some believe that love is an irresistible force. Despite social restrictions, one of these victims is a teenage girl who will be the main character in our later chapters. It so happened that on a particular night, when all the conditions are met, that will cause the flame of love to kindle. There is a total blackout, and the moon has completed 14 nights and has become a full moon. The luminous moon cast out its sparkling rays and illuminated everything around. That night, everything is so romantic and wonderful for her. Her lover is many miles away, and his long-awaited-for letter has finally arrived. She is alone in a secluded corner of her house. She is lying on the bed with her legs bent up. Her chest is lifted from the bed. She supports the rest of her body with her elbows. She is holding in her hands a piece of paper that looks like a letter. The only light she has is the silvery beams of the bright moon. How many times did she kiss that message? How many times did she press his letter to her chest? How many times did she read her first love letter? God only knows. She has read it many times while standing, many times sitting, many times walking, and many times lying on her back and on her stomach, and with all this it seems that she is not satisfied. The more she reads that letter, the more she wants to read it again. Her pretty face gets brighter every time she looks at the letter. Her cheeks reflected the shimmering rays of the bright moon. Her eyes twinkle like stars. Her sweet lips became wet. Her long hair covers half of her sexy body. She is very beautiful. She is a 17-year-old teenager. She is praised for her beauty more than all the other girls. She got the highest number of marriage proposals among the girls in her city. Every boy who saw her would like to marry her. But she rejected everyone, citing her studies, and did not tell anyone the real reason behind her continuous refusal. Describing in more detail the girl's beauty or the contents of that letter is a difficult choice. They both require great talent and need more time to do both of them justice. In order to save time and not reveal our immature talent in describing beauty, we prefer to take on the second challenge. In addition, the contents of the letter will reveal the reasons behind the abundance of kisses, hugs, and readings. Besides, they will tell us about the beloved and her lover. Dear Intisar, it has been a long time since I decided to write my letter and express my love for you. Many times I started but then hesitated. This is because I am not sure about your feelings for me. My love for you is more than I can handle alone. Since I met you with your two sisters Farida and Firdaus in the movie theater in Gadaref City, I fell in love with you. Whenever Intisar reaches this beautiful sentence, she stops reading. Then she asks herself philosophically, is the belief that love begins at first sight true? This is true according to her lover, but she believes that her love for him is already in her heart, even though she only saw him that day. It's not the time to argue with Intisar about her theory of love for romance. As some people say, love is like a beautiful rose that is meant to be seen, not touched. If we try to open it and examine its inner contents at this point, we may end up destroying its outer beauty and spoiling its inner charm. So, he thinks his love started the day he met her, and she thinks it is really there. It's just a matter of different opinions, but the end is the same. Both of them are trapped in love. And from that moment, I began to think about you day and night. I met your sister Frida at university and also during last summer vacation, but I didn't know she had such a beautiful sister. Once again, Intisar pauses to think. Here she becomes shy. Many people told her that she is beautiful and always made her feel proud. Yet, she never enjoyed the word beautiful and understood its true meaning until that day. Before she resumed reading the love epistle, she thought of her classmate, Sulwa, the poor girl who was sold in marriage to an old man of her father's age. Sulwa was also one of the most beautiful girls in the school. Unfortunately, her beauty had become a curse rather than a blessing. When Intisar imagined Sulwa in that old man's arms, she felt disgusted. Wherefore, she immediately dismissed the unpleasant vision. Instead, she imagined herself in her lover's arms. His eyes try to look into her eyes. She turns her face to the other side. He puts his hand on her cheek and slowly turns her face towards him. She places both her hands over her face so that she remains sufficiently hidden. He holds her hands and removes them from her face. Their eyes met for a moment. She becomes shy and closes her eyes. He presses her face to his chest, then she realizes he is not there. It is his love message. She kissed it again and opened her eyes to read it. I have seen many beautiful girls, but your beauty is unique. From those few words you said to me that day, I saw many good qualities in you. I have not seen such qualities in any girl in our society. Whenever I meet a girl, whether she is alone or in a group, I find her deaf and dumb. Of course, our girls are victims of the misconception that if a girl talks to a boy, she is a bad girl. Even here at the university, the girls are very shy. In fact, I don't blame them because their conservative parents taught them that love between a boy and a girl before marriage is evil. Anyway, I found that you are an enlightened and open girl, which is why I fell in love with you at first sight. I can still hear your words echo. I wrote your words in my diary. Intisar tried to remember the words she said on that wonderful day, but she couldn't help but remember some of them. Then she makes her voice sweeter than it was on that wonderful day. When she whispers them to herself, she realizes that not only is she beautiful, but she also has a very sweet musical voice. I may forget everything, but I will never forget your beautiful eyes. Since I saw them, they have held me captive in love for you. A lover can see in the eyes of his beloved some magic that no one but himself can see. This is one of the secrets of love. However, when the lover claims to have seen this magic at first sight, it means that the beloved has really beautiful eyes. While you were talking to me that day, I noticed that you have a habit of speaking through the eyes. So, your lovely eyes told me more than the few words your sweet lips whispered. Your beautiful eyes inspired love, hope, and happiness in my heart. So, I will be in love with them as long as I live. The more Intisar read this passage, which speaks of her beautiful eyes, the more confident she became in her theory of love. She believes that her love for him is already in her heart, even before they met. It is like a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered and owned by him because he owns it by inheritance. She loves him because she was born just for that. He loves her because he has this innate passion for her and her alone. That is why her eyes revealed to him the love she had for him even before she could see him. Even if you reject my love, I will still love you. He is really crazy. How can he continue to love me if I reject him? Intisar immediately corrected herself and said to the message, "It is better for me to die than to tell you no. Every cell of my body loves you." "I love you also," replied Intisar, then repeated her kisses and hugs with the message of her distant lover. "After I have revealed my love for you, I would like to tell you about my family. My father is a lover of wealth in our city, Gedaref. Of all the lovers of money, he is the most dedicated. He has more fame and fortune than other lovers of greatness and wealth. I am the son of his third wife. From his 4 wives he has many sons, daughters, and grandchildren. He loves me more than his other children because I am the only one who refused to follow his example. My father told me one day, 'I love you, son, more than your brothers, because you are the only one among them who likes to collect knowledge instead of money.' Most of my brothers and sisters got married for the purpose of bringing more wealth and fame to my father." Intisar is a clever girl, so she understood the hidden meaning of this sentence. She realized that her marriage to him would not be easy because she is not from a rich and great family. "If you answered positively to my letter, I would not submit to my father's condition. I would rather die than live without you." This sentence suggested many things to her. First of all, she understood that he loved her very much. At the same time, she realized that she would face many problems in her love for him. She expected rejection from his rich father. Her beauty and personality will not impress his wealthy parents. These are the only qualities the son will present to his father. Beauty will fade someday. According to her community, she does not have a good personality. Here she remembers her last quarrel with her half-brother Omar, who openly accused her of being a bad girl. Therefore, his father may inquire about her, and her neighbors may tell him that she loves going to cinemas and attending parties, and she also believes in love before marriage. He may tell his father that I love her and can't live without her. The father is left with two options, either to agree to their marriage or to lose his son. Being a good father, he will definitely accept the first choice. Intisar enjoyed such a strong reason that it would force his rich father to agree to their marriage. But she suddenly remembered that she lives in a Muslim society where love is strongly condemned as evil if it occurred before marriage. Families believe and teach their daughters that no good girl can fall in love with a boy before marriage. Intisar wonders why he should mention his father in his first letter. Why can't he put it off for his second or third letter? On second thought, she appreciated his honesty. She concluded that he is a man of good principles. He wanted to lay the foundation of their love in the truth. So, she knew and understood that they would have many battles before they could achieve victory. Here she remembered that her name Intisar meant victory. Such a realization is like an anchor for her, especially after his first love letter catapults her up and down waves of victory and defeat. Another realization flashing like a sweet promise in her heart is that she has complete freedom. She has nothing to dictate the terms of her marriage and her life. Her father, Mr. Ibrahim Mustafa Jaber, passed away 10 years ago. Her older sister, Frida, is a university graduate and an enlightened girl who believes that a girl has the freedom to choose her life partner. Therefore, she understood that the question of forcing her to accept a man she does not love would not arise. If I receive your positive response, I will immediately write to your older sister Frida and tell her of my love for you. I have her address and I will ask her to give me your hand in marriage. Truly, Intisar, you have a wonderful sister. She is not only an educated girl, but also a very enlightened person. Intisar is very proud of her sister Frida, and her lover's words added to her strong feelings for her. She is not only her sister, but also her best friend. In fact, she considers Frida to be her ideal in life. Here, she carefully asks herself, if her sister is like her ideal, then what is her lover for her? Soon the answer appeared in her mind, and her lips whispered softly that he is the real one to her. I also saw your younger sister Firdaus with you that day. She is a sweet girl, but incredibly quiet. Maybe she wasn't in a good enough mood to talk that day. Her sister Firdaus is really a moody girl. Sometimes she is very talkative, but at other times she is very uptight. She is 17 years old, but her younger sister is 15. It is this dual nature of Firdaus that Intisar believes caused her to fall in love with two boys at the same time. The two friends, despite their closeness and esteem for her, did not disclose their love for Firdaus. Perhaps they are hesitant because neither of them is sure of her love for him. Intisar often tries to correct her sister in this matter, but Firdaus always claims that she is innocent and that she only admires the two boys as brothers. She informs the two lovers that her sister is so immature that she cannot understand the consequences of what she is doing. But regardless, the lovers did not give up. Intisar ignored them and her immature sister and decided to let the three learn their lesson the hard way. Dear Intisar, in your response, I want you to tell me about your future plans. For example, do you want to continue your studies? I made some inquiries about you and learned that you are in the 10th grade, and you are one of the brightest among the girls in the school, and you are 17 years old. You have rejected many marriage proposals because you want to continue your studies. If you tell me yes, I have no objection, even if you want to go to university. I am ready to wait for you to complete your education. In fact, I would love to have a college graduate wife. Whenever she reads the sentence, Intisar is thrilled to know that her boyfriend would love to have a college graduate wife. She is always encouraged by her sister Frida to continue her studies and go to university. I am studying engineering at the University of Khartoum. I am 23 years old. I have many brothers and sisters in addition to my mother. My mother thinks that all her 3 sons should marry beautiful girls from good, rich, and well-known families. Intisar knows that she fulfills 2 of his mother's requirements, but that may not have mattered to his father. Unfortunately, in this particular Muslim culture, women do not have a voice to raise objections or impose conditions. The father is like the dictator within the family. She also knows that no wife in her Islamic community can force her husband to accept the girl she chooses as a bride for her son. My father's other wives quarreled among themselves. They had been fighting for many years until my mother crossed their red lines. When she shared my father's heart with them, their war with each other stopped, and they joined hands to fight against my mother. We, our mother's natural supporters, have suffered many false accusations, slanders, and public assaults. Because I always stay away from Gadaref City, these stepmothers and their offspring have made malicious, false, and defamatory statements against me many times. They accused me of doing all kinds of vices. My mother enjoyed 1 year of peace when my father married his 4th wife. The new wife survived the war of jealousy for only 1 year. Her sudden death at the time of the delivery of her firstborn brought great happiness and joy among the allied enemies. Seeing their new enemy dead, the wives resumed their old war against my mother. In that endless war, no one suffered more than me. As I mentioned above, I am different from my brothers in that I am not a fan of money, rather I love studying. So, my half-brothers interpreted it as sheer laziness. They also falsely accused me of wasting my father's money living an immoral life in the capital city and of making my studies an excuse for my bad behavior. My beloved Intisar, there is nothing I hate in this life more than polygamy. Similarly, it is a coincidence that his girlfriend hates polygamy bitterly. She suffered a lot from her half-brother Omar, so what next? Wherefore, she understood and appreciated that sincere confession, especially when it came from someone who would be her future husband. She believes that there will be no fear of a rival 2nd, 3rd, or 4th wife. Intisar is surprised that he did not ask her about her half-brother Omar and half-sister Badraya. He also did not mention her brother Othman, who is a year older than her. He is in grade 11 and her sister Ferdis is in grade 8. Her sister Frida is the eldest in the family. She is 25 years old. Intisar resumed reading her first love letter. My father once said to me, "My beloved son, when I married my first wife, I enjoyed my married life, but when I married a second wife, my life turned into hell. I told myself to let them fight among themselves and let me marry another woman. It is your mother to whom I got married. I put my third wife in a house very far from them. It was a simple house, and I did not give her expensive jewelry or costly clothes as I gave my first and second wives. By doing so, I expected them not to be jealous of her. But all those plans and tricks did not extinguish the flames of jealousy. They stopped fighting among themselves and joined each other and started fighting against your mother. As I mentioned earlier, the sons and daughters of these wives are waging a constant war against my mother and her offspring. Facts and practices indicate that polygamy is a crime against God and hell on earth for the polygamist husband, his wives, and their children. Before I finish my letter, I would like to tell you that last year when I came for the summer vacation, my father asked me about marriage. But I told him I didn't want to think about it until I finished my graduation. He shrugged it off for a while, but from what he said, I understood he had a girl on his mind that he wanted me to marry. When I come home this year, I am sure he will open up the same topic again. As you know, Intisar, in our Muslim society, a man of 23 years old is considered at the appropriate age for marriage. There are only 3 months left of my studies. This is also one of the reasons why I have to reveal my heart to you. I want you to give me a clear answer not only about your heart and where it is, but also about your family and your plans for the future. I am waiting for your response as soon as possible. If I do not receive your reply within the next 3 months, I will conclude that your response is no. Your lover forever, Sami Othman Al-Tayyib. Chapter 2. The first love letter from the sweetheart to her lover. After she read over and over again the first love letter from her handsome lover, Sami, until she memorized it by heart, the beautiful beloved Intisar believes that within those 3 months, she will write as many love letters to her boyfriend as possible. So she decided to write her first love epistle in her life on that wonderful day. Because everything is beautiful in her eyes that evening. Whenever she thought of writing an expression, she would look at his message and read it in full. She never gets tired or bored of reading it over and over again. She can read the entire love letter without even looking at the paper. It seems to have become engraved in her heart. She closed her eyes many times and pressed the paper to her chest and recited it from memory as if it was the verses of her religious book, the Holy Quran. Finally, she decides to write her first love letter, or to be more precise, pour her heart out on the sheet of paper. She grabbed the pen and put it to her sweet lips. She then looked carefully at the sky. She smiled at the bright full moon and became emotional and romantic. Then she started writing to him. She wrote the first sentence, canceled it, changed the paper, and then repeated the whole process again. She did that several times. Sometimes she would get to the 10th line and then catch a wrong word or expression and then repeat the whole thing again. Of course, to do that she needed to change the sheet. So many papers are wrinkled and discarded. If Intisar's mother suddenly got up and left her room, she might conclude that her daughter has gone mad. Her sister Firdaus might think that her sister has fallen victim to the madness of love. So, after tearing and smashing many papers, she triumphantly finished writing her first love letter. If someone saw her pouring her heart out to her lover Sammy, he would know for sure that love is an irresistible force. Because while writing it, she laughed many times and cried many times. She spent a lot of time reading it out loud and silently. She read it while sitting, walking, and lying on her stomach and back. She also read it in many situations, such as someone kneeling in prayer, or squatting like a statue of Lord Buddha, or someone about to run a race. When all these love rituals have been performed, the letter is carefully folded and placed inside an envelope. Then the address is printed on it. Finally, the envelope is sealed with her sweet lips and blessed with her warm kisses. On that night, Intisar had many dreams, some of which were victories and some of the defeats. The next day, while on her way to school, she visited the post office. Then, with a heart full of joy, she dedicated her precious treasure to the postman's care. From that day onwards, the beloved Intisar began counting the days, waiting for a response from her lover Sammy and the second love letter. The University of Khartoum was once known as the best university in Africa and the Middle East. When the British learned about Al-Azhar University in Egypt, hundreds of influential Muslim religious and political leaders came out every year. They were possessed by the spirit of jealousy. Then the old spirit of competition between Christianity and Islam returned. Therefore, all the advantages of the universities of Oxford and Cambridge were merged together, and thus Gordon College in Sudan was created. The name of that college was later changed to the University of Khartoum. After the establishment of that university, there was some balance in society. The graduates of the two universities were received by the general public in Sudan with great respect and appreciation. When Intisar's first love letter entered university, the atmosphere is one of preparation for the final examination. Every student is busy with his books except for one student who is like a dying flower. It has been almost a month since he sent his first love letter to his girlfriend. He almost lost hope for what awaits him. He expected the response to come after 2 weeks, but after many days, the reply had not yet arrived. He is sitting alone that morning while the other students are busy with their books. His condition can be likened to someone who has lost all hope in life. This is a serious flaw in love. When a lover gives all his love to his beloved, failure in love will end everything. Some lovers will go so far as to end their lives like Romeo and Juliet or Kays and Layla. So, while Sammy is sitting alone in a far corner of the university, he saw his friend Sulla coming towards him from far away. There is nothing on Sulla's face that reveals that he is carrying happy news. On the contrary, he looked serious and angry. As soon as Sulla reached Sammy, he said angrily, "How long will you neglect your studies and remain sad like this?" His friend added that when Sammy remained silent, "She is not the only girl in the world." "I know, but in the whole world, I don't think there is any girl who can stir up the love I have for her." Sulla said, "I'm sure this is just a fleeting affection any boy might have for a pretty girl who smiled or spoke to him. Very soon these feelings will disappear." And when Sammy did not answer, Sulla approached him and whispered in his ears, "Do not forget that after 2 months we will complete our studies, and after that you will become an engineer and I will become a lawyer. Once we get back to Gadaref City, every girl will be after us. I can't imagine that I will ever marry another girl. If she does not respond to your love, will you remain unmarried all the days of your life? Believe it or not, Sulla, it is the only thing I would do." I will be faithful to those beautiful eyes as long as I live. You talk like that because you don't know what Intisar means to me. Since I saw her and talked to her, I haven't spent a second without thinking of her. She became my everything. I spent a whole month every day standing on the road waiting in our city to see her go to school. Every time I saw her, her lovely eyes were looking at me and full of love. Her lips always smiled at me. Even though we didn't speak to each other, our eyes still conveyed a message of love. She may like you, but her heart could be with someone else. Of course, you can't blame her for that. Before Sammy could respond to his friend's skeptical conclusion, he heard a voice calling his name. Immediately, he raised his face, and his eyes looked at the person who had called out his name. He saw the postman standing behind him with a letter in his hand. At that moment, his hope is renewed again, and love overflows like the dew of rain on his parched soul. Then he looked at the sender's address and read it out loud from Intisar Ibrahim Mustafa Jaber. He immediately stood up, thanked the postman, and threw some money into his hand as tips. This generosity made the postman as happy as he is. Then he asked his friend Sola to be ready because he is soon taking him to a movie at the Chinese Friendship Hall Theater and to dinner at the Hilton International Hotel. Then he apologized and rushed to his room. Sammy entered his room in a few minutes and closed the door. He threw his shoes away and jumped on the bed. Lying on his back with his right leg resting on his left leg's knee, the lover began to read the heart of his beloved. Dear friend Sammy, I had waited so long for your letter to reach me, but during that time, I didn't ask myself if I really love you or just the affection I feel for you. When I received your love letter today, I found myself confronted with this important question. Your letter revealed the deep love in your heart for me. I appreciate that and thank you from the bottom of my heart for these deep feelings. Your letter has also made it clear that your rich and noble family may not accept a girl from a poor family which has no wealth and greatness in our society and city. So, before I make any commitment to you, I must make sure that I love you with all my heart and that I am ready to face any difficulties and challenges that may try to prevent us from being together forever. I honestly searched my heart to see if I have the same love that you have for me. The dictionary defines love as a feeling of strong personal attachment caused by what is pleasing or admired. This definition reveals the state of my heart. Somehow I found these lyrics incomplete and narrow as they speak of physical virtues such as beauty, character, wealth, greatness, and the standard of the family. These are the physical and social virtues that attract many boys and girls to each other. However, I wasn't entirely convinced by this narrow definition of love. I know that love is beyond human comprehension because God is love. Therefore, in order to understand what love is and define it accurately, we need divine help. Having said that, I will attempt to give you my humble definition of this divine seed and holy spark that the loving God has planted in the heart of every human being. At one time, I read a book on philosophy that my sister Frida had given me. The author of that book is known as Jean-Paul Sartre. He is a French philosopher and novelist, and his book is called Being and Nothingness. Sartre defined love as the desire to be loved. This definition was made more specific and comprehensive by the great Indian philosopher Mahatma Gandhi. The father of the Indian nation said, "Every human is a lover in search of a beloved." This definition seems simple and short, but I found it to be the most comprehensive and accurate definition of love ever written in human history. I never wanted anyone in this life to love me but you. In fact, I was born with this desire for you and for you alone. Therefore, I love you with all my mind, with all my soul, and so does my body love you too. And I'm willing to give up everyone and everything in order to be with you. I have kissed your letter 1,000 times, and this letter I have kissed more than my heart beats. You can see the traces of my lips and hear my heartbeat in every letter and every expression my pen wrote to you. A Hindu bride must say to her groom while circling their sacred fire on their wedding day, "I want to be your wife for 7 rebirths. But for me, I want to be your beloved wife forever." If you still think that this is not a sufficient acknowledgement of my love for you, time will prove how much I love you, and there is no force on earth that can uproot your love from my heart. In your letter, you mentioned a problem that requires serious thought and careful planning. You mentioned that your rich father would object to our marriage. I'm glad you said you wouldn't yield to his objection. It is also good that in our Muslim society a boy cannot be forced to marry a girl unless he is convinced of it on his own, while a girl can easily be forced to marry a man without her consent. Most of the girls in our society were married by their fathers to their husbands in masjids. None of those brides were present in the mosque when her marriage contract was signed by her father, her groom, 2 male witnesses, and the mazoon, who is usually the imam. This is because the bride's signature is not required by Sharia when signing her marriage contract. However, in my case, such a problem will never appear. So let me tell you about my family. My father passed away 10 years ago. He was an ordinary clerk in the municipality of Gadaref City. Wherefore, the only guardian who can sign my marriage contract with you is either my mother Sarah or my older sister Frida. My late father Ibrahim Mustafa Jaber married 2 women. Yes, he also fell into the snare of polygamy and was a womanizer. But he did not suffer as you said your father suffers now, and makes his children suffer as well because he has 4 wives. I am quite sure that these rival wives and their offspring are now facing countless problems due to jealousy and rivalry in polygamy. Even your dad is probably going through a difficult married life. Let me tell you why I think that. As I mentioned earlier, my late father, may God have mercy on his soul, married 2 women. He has a son and a daughter from his first wife Sakina. The son is known as Omar and the daughter is called Badraya. My mother Sarah gave birth to Farida, Othman, Firdaus and me. Omar, Badriya, and their mother Sakina hate us and always tell evil lies against us. I wonder why you didn't refer to them in your love letter. Anyway, I would like to tell you that Omar is a useless drunkard and a dangerous criminal. Therefore, we do not consider him as our brother. My only guardians are my older sister Frida and my mom Sarah. Frida works as a translator for a large company in Abu Dhabi. She is an enlightened person and thus believes that a girl has the freedom to choose her life partner in the future. Yet I shall be glad if you write to her and tell her of our love affair. She is the only breadwinner in our family. Before completing her studies at the University of Khartoum, my mother struggled a lot to support us. She and Frida used to make food at home and sell it at the main market. My mother is a nice woman, but her main concern is that we get married as soon as possible. This is because Frida vowed that she would not marry until Osman, Firdaus, and Intisar completed their education. My sister Firdaus is a sweet girl, except for her temperamental nature. I told her about you. She loved our friendship, but she doubted whether I could marry the son of a rich man. She, like many of my girlfriends and neighbors, believes that a rich family will not allow their son to marry a girl from a poor family. I tried to convince my sister and my girlfriends that love knows no social barriers, but none of them believed me. I have ignored them and believe that our strong and true love will prove them all wrong when we are united together in an everlasting marital relationship. So, by our eternal love we must prove to everyone that we are inseparable lovers and not even death can set us apart. Anyway, I have another brother, called Osman, who is 1 year older than me. He is a high school student and lives in a boarding school in Kassala City. He's also a very open-minded person and never stopped us from getting out of the house and hooking up with our classmates and other girlfriends. Many times, he took us to cinemas to watch some Indian films and Egyptian movies. Sometimes he even took us to watch famous Hollywood movies. My mom is also a nice woman and trusts us. Wherefore, she never stopped us from going to birthday parties and watching movies. She even allowed us to travel with Othman to Kassala, where we enjoyed the natural beauty of that tourist town. During our visit, we spent an entire week at the famous Hotel Africa. We visited the Taka Mountains, the tomb of the late beautiful girl Tajij, the Gash River, and drank the water of the Tatil well. We were told that whoever drinks from this spring of water will return to Kassala City again. Before I stop writing, I would like to reopen the subject of marriage, which you said your father is keen on. As I told you, my mother is also very keen on this matter, especially since my last marriage proposal came from a particularly good family. It was presented by Hassan, the son of the famous politician Majub al-Hilali. Even though I refused his marriage proposal, Hassan still insisted on pursuing it. I told him I don't want to think about marriage until I complete my studies. He said he wouldn't mind waiting for me even if it meant I had to study until I got my college degree. Then I explained to him that I did not want anyone to wait for me. Yet he still bothers me by sending my girlfriends and classmates, and through these girls, he is trying to convince me to accept his love and marriage proposal. It is one-sided love. The problem now is that my mother is very interested in him and his family. This encouraged Hassan to write a letter to my sister Frida. My sister replied that my sister Intisar is the one who decides whom she marries. Since she rejected your marriage proposal, that's the end of it. Yet this boy is still trying by all possible means to persuade me to marry him. My mother did not like Frida's response, still trying to get me to accept him. I told her I don't want to get married because I want to go to university and graduate like my older sister Frida. After I have received my first love letter from my beloved boyfriend Sammy, I will tell my mother about you, and I think this will close the door on Hassan's face permanently. Finally, I want to remind you that I love you very much. Words cannot contain my overwhelming feelings, or they can convey the deep love in my heart for you. Therefore, I would never think or imagine that I married anyone else, only you. You have become everything in my life. You are here in every breath I take. You are with me in every drop of water that my thirsty lips drink, and you are beside me when my mouth and tongue taste food. I can see you on the beautiful moon. I can hear your voice through the autumn raindrops. You come to me when flowers and roses appear during the spring session. You are the fragrance I inhale after the rain. Love is beautiful, it is eternal, it is life, and it is the meaning of our existence. God created the fruit of love and planted it in every human being and ignited its spark in our hearts. In short, love is divine. Because God is love. So, I would like to end my first love letter by saying I loved you yesterday, I love you today, and I will love you forever. Sammy and Intisar love each other from eternity to everlasting and to infinity and beyond. Yours alone. Intisar Ibrahim Mustafa Jaber. Chapter 3. The Son and His Stubborn Father. Although a full month has passed since the lover Sammy came home from the University of Khartoum, he has not been able to meet his always busy father. Most of the time the father is out of town or traveling abroad. When his father returned from his last trip to Europe, the son spoke to him on the phone and expressed his desire to meet him. The father told his son that he, too, would like to meet him and discuss with him something very important that would take an hour out of his tight schedule. Sammy had to wait to get an appointment with his father's secretary. On the appointed day, the son has been sitting in the waiting room of his father's office for 2 hours. He had already received a call yesterday from the secretary. Tell him to be there by 8 in the morning. Sammy came at the right time, but he is asked to wait because his father is now busy with some urgent business with some important businessmen in the city. During these 2 hours, the lover Sammy spent most of them thinking about the wonderful time he had enjoyed with his beloved Intisar, whether they were standing on an empty road or hiding in a remote corner. Despite their efforts to keep their friendship a secret, everyone knew it. For a boy and a girl standing on the road and talking to each other in this part of the world, they can only be understood as having a love affair. It is not a common phenomenon. This is the #1 reason why everyone knew and talked about their relationship. The second reason is stronger. The son of a rich man falling in love with a poor girl is not welcome in the Islamic community for many reasons. Through many past experiences, it was proven that such a relationship always has bad consequences for the poor girl and her destitute family. The most common of these bad consequences was the case in which the girl committed suicide because of the failure of her relationship. If she chooses not to kill herself, her father or brother will kill her in an honor killing. If none of these evils happen to her, she will be impregnated by her lover before marriage and has an illegitimate child, and thus will have to run away from home and join bad women in another city, and will spend the rest of her life as a prostitute. Such sad endings often happen because the sons of the rich use the poor girls only for their pleasure and sexual satisfaction. When the question of marriage comes up, these rich boys usually withdraw themselves and deny the relationships. No such pregnant girl would be allowed to live until she delivered the illegitimate baby and a paternity DNA test carried out to determine the biological father of her unwanted baby. She would be slain in honor killing by her father of brother. On the rare occasion when a rich man's son takes the affair seriously, his parents will stand up against their son's love affair with the poor girl. If they fail to put an end to the unwanted relationship, they will either resort to blackmail, illegal means, or the power of black magic to separate the two lovers. Sometimes they may bribe some corrupt police officers and through them charge the poor girl with a serious crime and send her behind bars for the rest of her life. There were cases where these poor girls were accused of murders, and in other cases, the police hid drugs in their school bags and arrested them. Therefore, most people believe that what Intisar is doing with the rich boy Sammy will lead to her destruction. Some of them even came to her mother Sarah and asked her to prevent her daughter from getting into serious trouble. For this reason, the mother tried to stop her daughter, but Intisar did not listen to her advice. Her girlfriends and classmates at school said Intisar is deceived by her beauty. She is like a butterfly that jumped into a fire believing that the fire would add to her beauty. Some of her family members and other girlfriends advised her to accept the marriage proposal she received from the family of Hassan Majub al-Hilali, but she also refused to accept this advice. According to some of her girlfriends, Hassan is also a handsome boy and he too has fallen madly in love with her. He loves her more than Kays loves Layla. Yet she said that love should be on both sides. Intisar then told these girls that Sammy loves her and she loves him too, and therefore she will not marry any other boy but her lover. While waiting to see his father, the son recollected all the information his beloved girlfriend had told him. Moreover, the lover Sammy remembered that his beloved Intisar also told him throughout her life that she was not severely criticized by her girlfriends, neighbors, and family until she fell in love with him. She felt like everyone hates her now. So, she expects that people's bitterness may one day lead some to stone her to death or chase her out of town. I became like the unwanted girl or untouchable woman in Hindu society. Many families forbade their daughters to socialize with Intisar. These parents believe that her bad behaviors may affect their daughters as well. She even faced some criticism from her classmates, female teachers, and school headmistress. Therefore, Intisar asked Sammy if she should continue her love for him and lose many people in the community and her family, or defy everyone and suffer dire consequences. When his girlfriend reached this dead end and became standing at a crossroads, her boyfriend was worried and asked her, "What made you reach this sad end in our true love?" "I don't know, Sammy, exactly. But I can see that everyone hates me because of my love affair with you. Because of our love, I am facing a serious dilemma. I don't know whether I should continue our friendship and lose many people, including some of my family members, or should I continue this love and bear the unknown consequences? True love will not bring dire consequences. So, I am absolutely sure that our strong love will bear good fruits and lead eventually to wonderful married life. Do you think all these people are wrong and we two are right? Everyone expected a sad end to our love. I don't want to die or have a bad end like running away from home and wandering homeless on the streets, or my circumstances might force me to become a prostitute in another city. Don't say that, my love. Nothing like this will happen to you. Let them think or say what they like, but there is one thing you must be absolutely sure of: as long as I live, no one can touch you. Also, no one can separate us or prevent us from being together as husband and wife." Really, Sammy? Have you forgotten what I told you when I came from Khartoum? Absolutely not, Sammy. Now tell me what I told you that day. You told me about no power in heaven or authority in this life can separate us from each other. So why do you fear society? This means that you do not believe my words. No, Sammy, how can I forget your great promise when you became everything in my life? Even me, my love, and victory in Asar. For your sake, I am ready to give up everything and everyone. When the boyfriend recalled his conversation with his beloved girlfriend and his thoughts rose to high levels, he suddenly heard his father's secretary calling his name. "Yes," Sammy replied. "Your father is ready to see you now. Would you please go inside and stand in front of the red curtains? When you hear the bell ring, you can enter." Sammy followed the secretary's instructions and stood behind the red curtains, waiting for the bell to ring. While standing, he saw the red curtains that separated him from his father. "They're like the Great Wall of China. After a few minutes, he will confront his stubborn father and reveal to him what is in his heart. He understood from the phone conversation that his father wanted to talk to him about something important. Sammy had already guessed that it would be a proposal to marry the daughter of a rich man. He decided to reject his father's advice and reveals his love affair and the girl he decided to marry. The father will certainly object, but Sammy is determined to convince him with all the means at his disposal. His thought was interrupted again by the ringing of the bell. His face became filled with determination. His mind is full of ideas. His heart is full of love. His innermost being is filled with courage. It is time for the father to accept a love affair with a poor girl, or the endless war between the son and his father will start today. With this determination, Sammy entered the presence of his father. Mr. Othman Al-Taib, despite his great wealth, has a name and fame in society, but is very small and thin in his body. If someone saw him for the first time, he would conclude that he didn't even have the power to speak. But when he hears him speak, he will wonder where he got such a strong, resounding voice. His face is always angry and looks like he hasn't experienced laughter since he was born. When you look at his face, you will not know if he is sad, happy, or angry. This is the lifeless face that appeared in Sammy's vision when the son stood before his father. If one looked at the two of them, he would never believe that such a gloomy and fearful face had begotten the innocent and angelic face of his handsome son, Sammy. When the old man saw his son standing in front of him, he stopped writing and cried aloud, "Welcome, great living martyr." Sammy understood immediately. The first topic will be about the great Sudanese revolution of dismember that ousted the evil Islamic government of President Omar al-Bashir from power. Thank you, Dad. I'm glad to see you after such a long time. Please sit down and feel at ease, my beloved son. I'm proud of you. You know, Sammy, as I said earlier, of all my children, I love you the most because of your love of education. But now I love you even more because of your bravery. What kind of courage do you mean, my father? Your brave stance in the recent popular revolution, of course. Every day we read about your university in the newspapers, as the Imam Maulana Sheikh Marzouk mentioned it several times in his sermons at the Grand Mosque. What did Maulana say about our university? Tell us how brave the students are in supporting them in removing bad government. What did he say? Sammy shouted angrily. Talk about the martyrs of your university. No, Father, you said that Maulana told the congregation in the mosque that the students had supported them in removing the bad government from power. Yes, you're right, but Maulana meant to say that the religious leaders were the minds that worked behind the scenes. He's a fraud, Sammy shouted angrily. The old man shouted angrily too. Sammy, did I hear you say that Maulana is a fraud? Sammy could not answer the question. How dare you call the blessed Maulana Sheikh Marzouk, the Antichrist man? How can you even think of such blasphemy? He is the imam of the largest mosque in our city. I'm sorry, my father. I know I am not supposed to use such a bad word to refer to the blessed imam. But how can Maulana make such a false claim? We are the Sudanese intellectuals who planned the revolution and fought against the bad government with the support of the common Sudanese people who were martyred. Where is Maulana's role in the revolution? The father realized that if such a discussion were pushed further, then the request he had received to marry his son off to a rich girl would definitely fail. So, he decided to change the subject. Well, let's forget the revolution and talk about your second greatness. Sammy, have you already become a university graduate with your degree and thus become an officially recognized engineer? Yes, my father. But I owe you for this achievement. Thanks to your continuous encouragement and support, I was able to become a university graduate and an engineer. From today on, I will never allow any engineer or builder in the city to cheat me and steal my money. I will present to you all my future projects. I plan to build another big hospital and mosque in this great city. All these great projects are yours. Thank you, dear father, for trusting me. You are a great man, Sammy. I'm proud of you. Thank you, my father. But you must know that a great man like you must have a great woman as a wife. Am I right, my dear son? Yes, my father. And a great woman must come from a great home, a great family, and a good background. Am I still right, my dear son? Sammy understood that his father wanted to force him to admit that social status determines whether a person is great or not. Therefore, he said to his father, "You will be absolutely right if you use the word a good family instead of a great family." Not at all, Sammy. The word good family has become so common in use that it has lost its validity. Everyone claims to be good and every family claims to have a good background. Yet no one can call himself great and have a great family background unless it is true. We know for sure who are the greats in the city. Well, Dad, what is your definition of a great woman? Like I said, she must be from a big family. For example, the daughter of Maulana Sheikh Marzouk satisfies my definition of a great woman because her parents are great and noble and have pure Arab blood. Her father is the most honest imam in our city. Her mother traced her ethnicity back to our blessed Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Her father traced his ancestry to Al-Abbas, the uncle of the Prophet Muhammad too. The girl knows the Holy Quran by heart. She can read the holy book from cover to cover without looking at it. She is a blessed young woman and a well-behaved girl. She has just completed 12th grade and passed her exams with a high score. She is the most desired of all the girls in the city. Every family in our society wants her to become the future wife of one of their sons. Sammy had to interrupt his father's praise monologue. Dad, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You just said that you are proud of me because I graduated as an engineer from the most prestigious university in Sudan. Therefore, my academic achievements qualify me to be great in your eyes and not because of the greatness of my family. The father realized that his son wanted to ensnare him by citing his own words, so he said, "My dear son, you acknowledged because of my continued support you have made such great accomplishments. Therefore, because of the greatness of your father, you are what you are. Some of your sons refused to follow your advice, but became great businessmen. Do you still call them great men because they're your sons?" Yes, of course. Some people are excellent in business, some in religion, some in politics, and some in education. I am glad that you included educated people in the list of great people. Now I have 3 friends. One is a doctor, the other is a lawyer, and the other is a high school teacher. All of them graduated from the University of Khartoum. Do you agree that they are great men in our society? Yes, I stand by my word. They are all from poor families. Will you still agree that they are great men? My dear son, how can we call Ibn al-Fakir or the son of a poor man a great man? So, a great man is an educated person from a rich and influential family. These advantages combined make a person a great man. Do you call Hassan Majub al-Hilali a great man? Yes, I do. His father became the greatest man in politics. Wealth and status to you make a man and his sons great men. My dear son, doctors, civil engineers, judges, lawyers, teachers, graduates, and university professors are excellent in their eyes, but society will never call them, nor their children, great men. Sammy closed his eyes for a moment and pondered his father's twisted logic. How many times has he contradicted himself? How many times has he refuted his assertions? There is no point in arguing logically with a man of his father's mentality who loves and worships money. Wherefore, he decided to change the topic of greatness and go directly to the main topic. Dear father, I do not agree with you that wealth and social status will qualify a person to be a great man or a great woman, but nevertheless let us pass directly to our main subject. The father felt great relief from that heated argument that kept him standing on the hot moving sand the whole time. Our holy Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, told us that a woman is desirable in marriage for 4 reasons. 1, because of her money. 2, because of her beauty. 3, because of her religion, and 4, to her family nobility and ethnicity. When these conditions are met in a particular girl, that girl will be the right choice for you. Am I right, my beloved son? Please go ahead and tell me what's in your heart, Dad. A few months ago, your mother and I decided to find you a life partner. A girl must fulfill the 4 important conditions of our holy Prophet Muhammad. May God bless him and grant him peace. We learned that there is no girl in the whole city who is more wanted than the daughter of the blessed Imam Maulana Sheikh Marzouk. The girl's name is Samia. She is just as her name means, exalted in beauty, wreath, religion, race, virtue, and righteousness. My dear son Sammy, 3 wealthy families asked for the girl's hand in marriage, but her father rejected their proposals. Of course, he had his own reasons for refusing their requests, but that is none of our business. What is important to us is that he accepted our proposal. You must tell me, Dad, why he refused the other 3 proposals and he accepted yours. The boys were rejected on the basis of their family backgrounds. What is wrong with their family backgrounds? I'm not entirely sure of the exact details, but your mother will be able to tell you. What I've heard is that their family's ethnic backgrounds are not clean. In other words, the virtuous Imam came to know that these families had African roots from the Nuba, Darfur, Dinka, Zaghawa, Masalit tribes, and the like of black Africans. Please, my dear son, keep this secret between you and me. My father, without considering their personalities, education, and other personal achievements, rejected them, and for what reason? Of course, they accused them of having a 3rd, 4th, or even 10th grandfather or grandmother who was slave, wizard, or witch. They also named their ancestors or descendants some resurrected zombies and beat. What is this bullshit? Of course, Maulana is right. How can you expect him to give his beautiful pure white Arab daughter to such ugly black slaves? You people who are still thinking with the mentality of the Stone Age. Please, Sammy, I have a lot of engagements for today. Will you tell me when you want us to go to our blessed Imam? Before we go, I have to meet the girl in person and ask her an important question. What is your important question? What is her father's bank balance? What will be my share when I marry her? What nonsense are you talking about? Her father's bank balance is not equal to 1% of your wealthy father's bank balance. Didn't you quote from the hadith of the Holy Prophet, in which he said that a woman is desirable in marriage because of her wealth, beauty, religion, and honorable family's ethnicity? You just want to complicate things and thus delay your marriage. No, I will not withdraw my condition. Listen, my son Sammy. I am your father, and I know from all my sons that you are the only one who does not like money, but you love education. Therefore, I can't believe you put money as a condition for choosing your life partner. Tell me now, is there any girl in your mind? Sammy looked at his father suspiciously and said, Yes, Dad, there is a girl I love, and I would like to marry her. What is she? Mr. Othman Al-Taib shouted. Her name is Intisar Ibrahim Mustafa Jaber. I didn't ask you for her name. I asked you what she is and what her father is in society. I had never heard of this name before in my life. Not among famous businessmen, religious leaders, or politicians. Where did you get this name? Her father, Mr. Ibrahim Mustafa Jaber, may God have mercy on his soul, passed away 10 years ago. He was an ordinary clerk in the municipality of Gadaref City. Her only guardians are her mother Sarah and her older sister, Farida Ibrahim Mustafa Jaber. Frida graduated from the University of Khartoum and is currently working as a translator in Abu Dhabi. The girl is 17 years old. She is in the 11th grade. She is beautiful and a very outgoing girl. Her family is poor, but her relatives are good people. Shut up, Sammy, shouted Mr. Othman Al-Taib. I have given you enough time for today. I wouldn't mind talking another day about Maulana's daughter. If you want to see her before we go to her father, I can arrange that for you. But you must never speak to me about that girl Intisar again, nor about her family. I don't want to know anything about her or have my name associated with her family. Then the angry father took his pen and wrote in his notebook Intisar Ibrahim Mustafa Jaber and put a red circle around her name. Likewise, his son Sammy got very angry and stood on his feet. He wanted to say something but hesitated. He looked at his father. Then he said with stammering words, Father, I will not talk to you any more about my beloved girlfriend Intisar, because I have already spoken today. However, there is one last thing I want to tell you. No power in heaven above or authority in the whole world can separate me from Intisar or prevent me from marrying her. After that, the son went out of his father's presence to the waiting room, picked up the phone, dialed his girlfriend's number, and spoke to her. Chapter 4. The Mighty Witch Doctor and His Great Social Contributions. There is no one in the field of business in the city of Gadaref like the wealthy businessman tycoon Mr. Othman Al-Taib, and there is no one in religion like the blessed Maulana Sheikh Marzouk, the imam for the largest mosque in the city, and no one is famous in politics like the great politician Mr. Majoub al-Hilali, but the greatest of these great men is Hajj Muhammad. His social work is not limited to one specific field, but includes and exceeds all of the above-mentioned fields. In the past, whenever people got sick, they used to choose between the virtuous Imam Maulana Sheikh Marzouk and the doctor of the hospital, but when Haji Muhammad came to their city, people started to prefer him over both. He was not satisfied with praying and spitting on the faces of the sick, as the blessed Ima does, but rather gave incense burners and erasers instead of pills and tablets that doctors usually give to their patients. Therefore, the merits of physicians, spiritual leaders, and witch doctors come together in Haji Muhammad. Many people believe that he is the main reason behind the great wealth of Sayyid Osman al-Tayyib and the rise to power of the politician Sayyid Majoub al-Hilali. For this very reason, Hajj Muhammad is considered a 3-in-1. He is a hospital doctor, spiritual doctor, and witch doctor. However, all these achievements can be considered nothing if we compare them to his countless social contributions that attract hundreds of visitors every day. His house is open to visitors daily from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. He devoted his life and time to serving the visitors who came and sought his help. 85% of his visitors are women, both young and old. He not only treated patients, but also specialized in the work of defending those visitors who presented their complaints and petitions to him. For example, if a married woman comes to him in fear and tears to tell him that her husband is going to marry another woman besides her, then this petition is reason enough to move the heart of Hajj Muhammad the Compassionate. He will make sure that this second Islamic marriage never takes place. He will not go himself, but will only send his loyal, wicked servants. These messengers will make the life of that woman who wants to kidnap the husband from his first wife worse than hell. They usually make her a crazy woman or make her run away from her city. If this punishment did not satisfy the petitioner, he would order his servants to pursue that woman until she breathed her last. A few years ago, a rumor spread in the city of Al-Ghadarif stating that Hajj Muhammad was the cause of the sudden death of the fourth wife of Mr. Othman al-Tayyib. According to the rumor, the first and second wives of Sayyid Osman al-Tayyib paid a large sum of money to Hajj Muhammad. Consequently, the pilgrim sent his faithful servants to the hospital, and the fourth wife died under mysterious circumstances on the third day of her first childbirth. There are many accounts of the manner in which the murder occurred. One version said that loyal servants strangled the wife while she slept at night. Another account says that the servants transmitted a serious illness from another woman to the fourth wife. Another version says that the servants added poison to the syringe, which the nurse injected into the wife. Accordingly, the wife died from the poison that entered her blood. Anyway, whatever method the killing was carried out didn't matter. The important thing is that her mysterious death during her first childbirth in the women's ward of the General Hospital contributed to the increase in the popularity of Hajj Muhammad. His social name in the city was Faqih Muhammad before he visited Mecca and Medina cities and performed the rituals of Hajj. He also specializes in the field of love. In this field, he has many stories. One of the most remarkable testimonies in his possession concerns a teacher named Mr. Sadowar. He was a very handsome young man who fell in love with a very beautiful girl. The girl was from a wealthy family while the handsome guy was only working as a primary school teacher. His monthly salary was less than the daily expenses that the rich man used to spend on his beautiful daughter. When the girl's father found out about her love affair with her poor teacher, he was very offended. He tried by all means to stop Sadowar from continuing his love for his rich daughter, but all his attempts failed. One of them advised him to take his problem to the jaws of Muhammad, who was not yet in the fame and power that he is today. The desperate father had no choice but to seek the witch doctor's help. He knew that if he bribed some hitmen, he would be in serious trouble if the police found the financier of the crime. Moreover, if he forced his daughter to break off her friendship with the poor teacher or to marry her off to another rich boy, she might commit suicide. Wherefore, he understood that the only safe way to separate her from the miserable teacher was to resort to the power of black magic. So, The desperate father went to the greatest of the city's greats. He kissed the hands and feet of the great witch doctor and paid him a large sum of money and told him to destroy the poor handsome man and save his beloved daughter's life from leaving her rich life and going to live in the gutter. Therefore, the wheel of revenge began. Then the strong jaws sent his faithful servants to the poor schoolteacher. The result of that demonic visitation was that the handsome teacher became the madman Sador. In those days, Hajj Muhammad al-Jabbar's work was known as black magic. When the number of those who had suffered innumerable evils by his demonic servants increased, the matter was brought to the power of the police. The deputy commissioner of Gadaref City Police sent some of his policemen in plain clothes to investigate the matter. Spies kept watching the suspect for a whole month. Thereafter they informed the deputy commissioner of police as follows. To the Deputy Commissioner of Gadaref City Police. Mr. Mohammed Ahmed Nasir. Dear Sir, we have been entrusted with your honor to monitor the activities of the accused Hajj Muhammad Abkar Morsal. We have carefully investigated the activities of the person concerned for a period of 30 days. During that time period, we never saw any antisocial men or bad women or criminals visiting Haji Muhammad's home. The pilgrim himself only left his house once a week. This is on Friday afternoon. Some of us have followed him from afar without him knowing. We learned that on those visits Hajj Muhammad went to perform the public prayer in the Great Mosque. Neither inside nor outside the mosque, we saw him dealing with the bad guys. Most of his friends are very well known and respected in our society. For example, the blessed Imam of the Great Mosque, Maulana Sheikh Marzouk, the richest businessman tycoon in the city, Mr. Othman al-Tayyib, and the famous politician, Mr. Majub al-Hilali. Hajj Muhammad receives many visitors every day in his house. The majority of his visitors are young teenage girls and women. We have interviewed some of these female visitors. All of them claimed that they had come to receive healing and blessings from Hajj Muhammad. As for how they received their healing, they answered that it was through his blessings and medicine which he imparted to them by spitting on their faces. Most of them claimed that they received immediate relief from their pain. Some of these women claimed that the witch doctor could cure diseases that the hospital doctors could not treat, such as AIDS and cancer, and he could make barren married women pregnant who had not given birth to children before and cure the diseases that caused them. A virus of Ebola, coronavirus, and similar serious incurable diseases. We have examined some of the medicines he gave to his visitors. The most famous medicines given to them are called Bokhara and Mahia. The first is a small white folded sheet of paper on which verses from the Holy Quran and some signs were written. The second medicine is black water, which is made by washing verses from the Holy Quran written on a wooden slate. Visitors are required to burn the first medicine, inhale the incense, and drink the water of the second medicine. Some of his visitors, especially women, like to hide their identities. They come either early in the morning or late in the evening. They come with their faces completely covered by veils or niqabs. We followed some of them back to their homes, and we learned that most of them were wives, daughters, or sisters of well-known people in the city. Because they did not engage in any activity deemed illegal, we preferred not to reveal their identities in this official report unless otherwise requested. We also inquired about financial matters. We learned that Hajj Muhammad does not charge consultation fees. As usual, visitors are expected to present a certain amount of money known as a bayad. This amount is not fixed but depends on the visitor's choice. After a female visitor receives a cure, she is expected to return and pay 10 times what she was given as bayad. Apart from work activities, we did not interfere in the private life of Haji Muhammad. What we can say about him is that he had married in all his life a total of 14 wives, has many sons and daughters, and countless grandchildren. The above report was submitted to the Deputy Commissioner of Police, and a grand meeting was held to make a fair decision. Several senior officials of the police department were summoned to the meeting. At the end of the important meeting, all members agreed that Hajj Muhammad's work is clean. Wherefore, every police station in the city received an official order to dismiss any complaint against Haji Muhammad's spiritual and social activities. When news of this official announcement spread in the city, the number of visitors to Haji Muhammad increased rapidly. So, his name and fame spread far and wide. Thus, Hajj Muhammad became the greatest among all the greats in the city of Gadarif. Chapter 5. Two female visitors to the house of the mighty witch doctor. On a certain day, two women came and fell at Haji Muhammad's feet and asked for help from him. These two women, before entering the pilgrim's house, carefully covered their faces. Both women wear abayas and niqabs. They are the first visitors of the day. Of terms, the task for Hajj Muhammad is not to appear in front of him a veiled woman with her face hidden behind a niqab. He is a clean businessman, and thus he expects his visitors to be open and transparent to him. He does not like dealing with hidden identities. He keeps secrets. Visitors will be informed of all these and other conditions before entering Haji Muhammad's private room. So, these two women at the entrance to the private room were forced to unveil their faces. One of the two women is in her late 40s. The other woman is a beautiful young girl. She is most likely 18 years old. Al-Hajj Muhammad, despite being a clean-cut businessman, has a serious vulnerability when he gets close to teenage girls. Whenever he sees a teenage girl crying, his compassionate heart melts, and then he reaches out to the girl's cheeks and wipes away all her tears. He claims to be a man with such a big heart. Sometimes his hand would stay centered where it had reached as long as tears were running down the girl's smooth cheeks. So that particular lovely teenage girl shed many tears and Hajj Muhammad's hand wiped them all away. The affectionate Hajj enjoys nothing more than wiping away the tears of pretty girls. Then said the old woman, "O Hajj Muhammad, follow us and help us. She will marry the son of the richest man in town." With a rough voice like an ogre, he asked, and who dared to prevent her from marrying him? Then his hand moved slowly from cheek to shoulder and approached her large breasts. Such a beautiful girl deserves to be married to the son of the richest man in the world. Haji Muhammad followed his first assertion. The old woman said, "I do not mean this girl. This beautiful girl is my daughter Badriya. I'm talking about another girl." When the pilgrim heard the correction, his hand, which then reached the girl's waist, rose again to the cheeks. "I'm talking about the wife's harmful daughter, the second rival wife of my late husband. I mean his whore wife. When my unfaithful husband married her, she turned my life and the lives of my children into a living hellfire. So why is our sweet girl crying? Because of jealousy. Jealousy kills. You know, Al-Hajj, the hearts of teenage girls. They envy each other. Since the day my daughter Badriya and my son Omar learned that their half-sister had fallen in love with the son of a rich man, neither of them had slept. And you know the mother's heart. I fear they will die of jealousy and grief if she marries that rich boy. One of my female neighbors told me that no one can save my son and daughter except Hajj Muhammad." "What's the name of the girl?" the Grand Wizard asked in a voice like an ogre. Intisar Ibrahim Mustafa Jaber, the teenage girl, Badriya, responds quickly. When she told the girl's name, Hajj Muhammad looked at his left side and said, "Write the name." The mother and daughter thought at first that Hajj Muhammad has spoken in empty air, but suddenly they heard the voice of a ghoul or marfin or an ogre or hyena responding by saying, "I have written it, my Haji." Badriya and her mother looked in the direction the scary sound came from. They are surprised to see a short black boy sitting on Hajj Muhammad's left hand. The black boy holds a black pen and a black book in his hands. He also wears black clothes and black shoes. The two women did not remember seeing that horribly looking boy before he spoke to Hajj Muhammad. A great fear filled the hearts of both women. They deduced that it is either an invisible creature or a demonic being. He can appear whenever the witch doctor invokes his strange name. But because of fear of offending Hajj Muhammad, they did not express their opinion. Moreover, they heard that the pilgrim himself can transform himself into a black crow and spy on rival wives and their cheating husbands. Also, people say that the powerful witch doctor can transform himself on the night of the full moon into a human werewolf and attack the enemies of his visitors. For those unfamiliar with African and Arabic folklore, a werewolf is a human being who has the ability to shape-shift or transform into a wolf either on purpose or after being placed under a curse or affliction, with transformations occurring at night of a full moon. "What is the name of the rich man's son?" Hajj Muhammad inquired. "His name is Sammy." Badriya replied that he is the son of the wealthy and famous businessman, Mr. Othman al-Tayyib. When the pilgrim heard the full name of the boy in question, his right hand quickly moved from Badriya's cheek and joined his other hand on his head, and he shouted in a loud voice, "I seek refuge in God from the accursed Satan." This is the name of the cursed Satan himself, and he is like Lucifer, the prince of demons. The evil mother and her bad daughter have become terribly frightened when they heard the witch doctor's screams and words. They thought that the pilgrim saw Satan standing behind them with his horns on his head and a pitchfork in his hands. So, they hugged each other and began to shiver and utter incomprehensible sentences. They might have fainted or died of heart attacks if the witch doctor had not spoken again and removed hasty conclusions. The son of Mr. Othman al-Tayyib? What is the name of the girl's father? Say it again, the pilgrim shouted. Ibrahim Mustafa Jaber, the frightened mother, replies in a low voice. Is this Ibrahim Mustafa Jaber a rich man, a religious leader, or a great politician in another city? Al-Hajj asked. The mother replied, he is not one of those great men. He was just an ordinary clerk in the municipality of Gadaref city. He died 10 years ago and left behind 2 widows and 6 children who have nothing to inherit from him except his name. Then what do you want me to do, ladies? Why did you come to me, women? Such a marriage will not take place. I know that Mr. Othman al-Tayyib will not allow his son to marry a girl who does not have wealth and a great family standard in society. But his son is madly in love with her. Badriya said we heard him said he is leaving his family for her. Then Mr. Othman al-Tayyib will run to me and I will do for him what he asks. We are good friends. No, Hajj Muhammad. When the rich man comes to know the love story, my son and daughter die of jealousy. Please act now before it is too late. Al-Hajj wanted to say something but changed his mind. His big lips showed an evil smile. Then his right hand returned to Badriya's cheek. This time he pulled the sexy girl close to his huge body until her delicate body touched his big legs. The merciful Haji Muhammad said, "My sweet daughter, do not worry at all, I will help you." Then he looked at the mother seriously and said to her on one condition, that I should not harm the boy. I am a clean businessman and I value friendship. I will not hurt the son of my best friend. We don't even want any harm to happen to the boy. After all, he is not our enemy. She is the villain who deceived and seduced him with her beauty and sexy body, so she trapped him in her love. She has many lovers. If you see her walking down the street, she is like a bitch with many dogs. Those bad words came out of the mouth of the envious Badriya. Daldum, Haji Muhammad shouted. Yes, Haji, answers the short creature, who is still sitting next to the witch doctor. Show our respected women your love list. Mother and daughter probably couldn't figure out what Haji and his little man meant by the love list, even if they had to think about it for the rest of their lives. Only after the fearsome creature presented his black book and asked them to choose a number did the 2 women understand the mystery. Badriya and her mother took the black book and tried in vain to read it, but they could not. There is nothing to read, Dalgun. Who has asked you to read it? And notice that my name is not Dalgun. I am Mr. Daldum. Kiss as-Sawad, or Sack of Darkness, has been deeply hurt by the mispronunciation of his precious name. With these angry words, he stood and advanced toward his offender. I beg you, my dear Mr. Daldum, to control your anger, Hajj Muhammad said. Do you not see how her enemy has wronged our sweet girl? As the compassionate witch doctor speaks these words, the beautiful daughter literally sits on his lap and hugs him tightly. The short black man scared her with his awful appearance that she took refuge in his master's bosom for protection. Meanwhile, the charming doctor embraces the delicate body of the sexy girl with great passion and lust, which made the mother disturbed by her daughter's misbehavior. When Hajj Muhammad saw the mother's angry face, he pushed the sweetheart Badriya al-Halwa away from her romantic situation, which he was enjoying so much. Then, he opened his big mouth to clear up the misunderstanding. What Mr. Daldum meant was that he had 13 unseen numbers on his love list. You have to randomly choose one of them. The invisible number you choose will describe the penalty for your enemy and Asar. Please, can you tell us what kind of penalties do you have? Badriya inquired. You don't need to bother with that. Just choose any number between 1 and 13. Can you give us 2 or 3 examples of your punishments? For example, insanity, suicide, and running away from home. I would like to choose madness for her, Badriya cried happily. Sorry, Badriya, the mother shouted. Don't you know that her madness will also be a scandal for us? Did you forget that she bears your father's name? After correcting her foolish daughter, the mother turned her face to Hajj Muhammad and said, I prefer suicide to the sworn enemy of my son and daughter. While the mother and daughter quarrel among themselves about the punishment, Hajj Muhammad laughs the whole time. You cannot choose punishment this way. What I said are just examples. The number you will choose will tell us how to punish your enemy. Once you choose a number, said Mr. Daldoom, you cannot change it back. Badriya and her mother looked at each other, then at Hajj Muhammad, then at the so-called Mr. Daldoom, asking for guidance on the right choice. My suggestion is that the person who has been wronged by the enemy should choose the lucky number. I believe that my beloved daughter will make the right decision. Badriya became shy and then smiled happily when she saw everyone looking at her. She first looked at her mother, then turned her face to Al-Hajj and Mr. Daldoom and said softly, I chose the number 9. Daldoom quickly wrote down the lucky number and then shouted out loud, Intisar Ibrahim Mustafa Jaber is number 9. What is the punishment? The beautiful girl is puzzled by the mysterious shout of Mr. Daldoom. The penalty is that we will create great confusion about the love affair between the lovers Intisar and Sami, said Daldoom as he read directly from his blacklist of love. We will turn their lives into unbearable hellfire. How do you separate them by creating confusion for them? Badriya inquired. You don't mind the details. Hajj Muhammad replied, you will tell us yourself when you come after 3 months to pay off your debts. The important thing now is to bring the familiar object of the enemy. What is that? Asked both women in unison. Intisar's shoes, handkerchief, hair, underwear, or any of her other belongings. Why do you need it? The mother said to him, we have told you that these people are our enemies. The girl Intisar is the daughter of the second rival wife. How can we go to their house and get such a thing? Whatever the situation, you should have something familiar for the workers to identify the enemy girl. By the way, who are your servants who do this work for your visitors? Badriya asks. Hajj Muhammad said, do not ask too many questions, my little princess. Then he put his rough hand on the sweet lips of the princess, pretending to prevent her from speaking a lot, and his hand settled there and began to feel soft lips. This is the secret of our clean work, continued Al-Hajj, and therefore we do not reveal it to anyone. Am I right, Mr. Daldoom? Yes, Haji replied to him, the fearsome creature. While this discussion was taking place between the three, the mother fell silent for a while, and then suddenly she cried out in a loud voice, like Archimedes. I found it, I found it. Yes, I found it, the happy mommy repeats thrice. The other three looked unexpectantly for the mother to reveal her great discovery. The Eritrean girl Zara. She is our maidservant and so is theirs. She is the one who brings me their chatter and gossip. She can bring a shoe, a handkerchief, a dress, hair, or even one of the small underwear from Intisar without her knowledge. In less than a week, Hajj Muhammad, we will bring you one of those things familiar to our enemy. The enemy of my dear son and my sweet daughter. Excellent, Al-Hajj said, and then the deal is completed. Work will start tomorrow. Hajj Muhammad said, happy mother, you did not tell us yet about your expenses. Don't worry about them now. Whatever you paid for, like Bayad, when you entered you have to pay 10 times after 3 months. Please listen to this important warning before you leave. My servants who will separate the poor girl Intisar from Sami the son of Richman Osman al-Tayyib have a share in the total amount. So, if you fail to fulfill your obligations they will harm you and your daughter too. The happy mother swore to God that they would keep their word. After that, the two women kissed Hajj Muhammad's hands, but they only smiled at Mr. Daldoom. Then they rushed from the private room to the waiting room. Before leaving the waiting room, they covered their faces very carefully. The evil mother hid her body from head to foot in a black veil, and her bad daughter covered her entire face with a green niqab. Then they went out of the house onto the road, leaving behind the witch doctor Hajj Muhammad and the dreaded Dracula Daldoom to fulfill their wicked deal. Badriya said to her mother outside the Al-Hajj's house, did you recognize the boy sitting in the waiting room among the visitors? Not at all, says her mother. He is Hassan Majub al-Hilali. Really? Why did he come there? I think he came for the same purpose because he is also one of her victims. He fell madly in love with her and sent her marriage proposals 10 times, but she rejected him every time. She told her girlfriends that if Sammy does not marry her, she will either kill herself or remain unmarried for the rest of her life. She will certainly kill herself because the mighty witch doctor, Hajj Muhammad, has promised to separate her forever from the rich man's son. Then the two masked women took the first taxi driver, who came their way, and left. The second visitor to Hajj Muhammad on that very day is the same person whom Badriya had recognized. Haji Muhammad, as we said, is a man with a big heart for teenage girls, but with men, he is a completely different person. Accordingly, the second visitor is not asked to sit down. As he is standing on his feet, the witch doctor asked him in a ghoul voice of an angry ogre to be brief and quick in explaining his problem. I am in love with a beautiful girl, but she left me and fell in love with another boy. Please, Hajj Muhammad, turn her heart to me. I can't sleep at night. I think of her all the time. Didn't I tell you, oh man, speak briefly and be quick, cut off the witch doctor the complaining of the rejected lover? At least Haji Muhammad, if you cannot turn her heart on me, spoil her friendship with the other boy, also stopping their plan to marry each other. The Hajj listened to these words impatiently, because he believes that such a problem is very common among the youth. He has dealt with more difficult problems than this one. So, he thought of a chore in which he would ask for the name of the girl and the boy and ask for familiar things. Then the servants will do the dirty work. When the rejected lover understands these requirements, the second concern will be to discuss the issue of money. Money reminded the witch doctor to ask the rejected lover an important question. What do you want me to do? Do you want me to sabotage their marriage plan or turn her heart on you? You must do both, cried the frustrated boy. First, spoil their friendship and then turn her heart on me so that I can marry her. Haji Muhammad I can't live without her. I love her so much. She means everything to me. The witch doctor said that in this case the money would be doubled because my mighty demons must work against the girl and her new boyfriend. I don't mind paying double the money. When the boy spoke lightly of money, Hajj Muhammad realized in his heart that he is dealing with the son of a rich man. So, he asked, "May I know your full name?" "Please don't ask me for my name. Listen, man, I am a clean businessman, hence I expect any of my visitors to be perfectly open and squeaky clean before me. Therefore, if you don't want to reveal your identity, then forget what you told me and then immediately get out of my house and never show your face again." "Okay, Hajj Muhammad, my name is Hassan Majub al-Hilali." When the Hajj heard the father's name of the rejected lover, he understood the reason for his fear of revealing his identity. He knows that his father, Mr. Majub al-Hilali, recently won the election in the city of Gadarif. Accordingly, he did not want to bring scandal to his father, especially if rumors spread throughout the city that the wicked servants of Haji Muhammad have killed the rival lover. "My dear son," said the Hajj politely, "so why do you stand all the time? Please make yourself at home. Please sit down. I know your father. He's my best friend. I helped him in the election. Please, Hajj Muhammad, keep our deal top secret. Don't let anyone know that I came to you for help. Don't worry. I am a man of good principles. One of my principles is to keep secrets. Now tell me why that foolish girl rejected you and fell in love with another boy who is inferior to you." "The other boy is not inferior to me. He is the son of the richest man in town." Immediately Haji Muhammad connected the dots and exclaimed, "The girl's name is Intisar Ibrahim Mustafa Jaber." Before the disappointed, rejected lover answered him, the witch doctor shouted the name of the rival boy. "And the boy is Sami Othman al-Tayyib." "Yes, sir," Hassan answered strangely. "How do you know them? Did they come to you before me?" "I have never seen any of them, but I am the mighty witch doctor Haji Muhammad, the man of clean business. No secrets can be hidden from me in this city. I know everything. I am the god of all creatures, humans, animals, angels, and demons." After that, the evil sorcerer began to show great interest in the boy, who claimed to be the ex-lover of Intisar. "My dear faithful servant Daldum," exclaimed Haji Muhammad happily, "please write down all these important names. We deal with big families in the city. Hassan understood every word said by the witch doctor, except for the first word. So, he asked surprisingly, what do you mean by the strange name Dalboom? Here I am, the strange name, the dreaded black creature replied, and my name is Mr. Daldoom, not Dalboom. When the boy who claimed to be Intisar's so-called ex-friend saw the horrible appearance of the speaker, he thought he is an invisible man who could appear when the witch doctor called out his mysterious name. Hassan asked with fear, who is this strange man? This is the leader of my Satanists. He is the one who connects me to the other world of demons. Where's the other world? Hey man, don't ask unnecessary questions. Now tell me what to do. To be frank with you, Mr. Othman Al-Taib is also my friend. I can't hurt his son. But at least you can spoil his love and friendship with Intisar. I knew her and fell in love with her before he knew her. In this case, I have to work against the girl and make things difficult for her. I have to do something that will make it impossible for her to marry the son of the richest man in town, Syed Osman Al-Taib. When she realizes that she cannot marry the rich man's son, she will leave him and then come to you and ask you while on her knees to accept her again as your girlfriend and fiancé. Then she will marry you, God's willing, according to the Holy Quran and the blessed Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad. May God bless him and grant him peace. If you do this to me, Hajj Muhammad, I promise to give you 4 times the money that you ask for. The witch doctor said, Yes, I will do that for you. But Mr. Hassan Majub Al-Hilali, do not forget to fulfill your promise. Because if you fail to keep your word, you will put yourself and your girlfriend in great danger. After 3 months, come with your beautiful wife, Intisar Ibrahim Mustafa Jaber, and pay what you promised today. Then Haji Muhammad looked at Dracula and said, Oh my faithful servant, write on your list of love the name, Intisar Ibrahim Mustafa Jaber, then put the number 9 next to this important name. I wrote it, Haji, said Mr. Lucifer in the voice of the ogre. May I know the secret behind the number 9? Asked the rejected lover. 9 indicate the separation of lovers from each other and the divorce of the husband and wife by creating great confusion in their relationship, answered Hajj Muhammad. By creating endless problems between your beautiful ex-girlfriend Intisar, her new rich and handsome lover Sami, and their other family members, you will marry her and she will remain your wife forever. Say, Inshallah, or God's willing, my son. Inshallah, or God's willingness, and praise be upon him and his blessings be upon us all, said the alleged ex-lover happily as if he won the American lottery visa and married the beautiful girl Intisar.